While BattleBit may still be in its playtesting phase, there's still a handful of weapon balancing changes happening as the game continues to receive updates. Namely so, weapons like the AS Val and the Honey Badger were recently hit by the Nerf Bat, and pretty significantly if I may say. But through the ashes of those two weapons, have two new Goliaths risen to the challenge. G'day there once again viewers, your mate Kamikaze78 here, and today I want to point a spotlight to the MP5 and the Groza in BattleBit Remastered.
Keep pushing.
So, I will admit, these balance changes happened a little while ago, but between me going to DreamHack Melbourne last week, catching COVID from DreamHack Melbourne, and a bunch of other video projects that were in the works at the time, look, better late than never for this video. I've been really spending some time with the Groza and the MP5 in the latest playtest because there's been quite a bit of chatter around the wider community and my circles of mates about these weapons, and I wanted to see if the hype was justified. Before we get into the guns themselves though, keen-eyed players in the last playtest may have seen a cheeky little addition to the Vector's camouflage options, available to Patreon players only. It was in fact a Vector skin with my channel's logo on it. And well, the long and short of it guys, BattleBit's developers reached out to me and asked if there was one gun in the game that I would like to have my own personal camouflage for, what would it be? And well, I couldn't help but pick the little beast that was the Vector. So yeah, there's going to be a Kamikaze branded camouflage available on the Vector in the near future. It wasn't actually meant to appear in the game in the last playtest, that was in fact a little glitch, and it's also not going to be available to Patreon members exclusively. It's also worth pointing out that the skin that you saw in the playtest is not the final version, and the latest version of the skin that I've seen behind closed doors is certainly much more of a looker that I cannot wait to share with you all. And yes, a limited amount of you are going to be able to get your hands on this skin. In the near future, the skin will be available in limited quantity through various giveaways and means across all of my channels and platforms, which I will share more details about soon. In the meantime, I would very much recommend following me on my Twitch, Twitter, and joining our community Discord. Those will be the best places to see any updates on the giveaways front. But yeah, big shout out to the BattleBit developers for reaching out to me with this sick opportunity. To be honest, it's rather humbling to be immortalized in the game in such a way, and I truly do feel quite lucky being a part of this game's community because it is such an amazing community. The game itself is fantastic. So to be offered the opportunity to, have a little part of me put in the game, that's pretty bloody cool. So big shout out to the BattleBit developers for being absolutely amazing there. Anyway, sorry guys, back to the topic at hand, the MP5 and the Groza. These are both weapons that received some changes in an update a few weeks back, and in the process, really gave them a breath of fresh air that helps to thrust them into the realm of competitiveness, at least a little bit more so. We'll start off with the MP5. The MP5 received a small damage buff, moving the maximum damage from 26 to 29, which doesn't sound like a significant change really. It doesn't even shave an extra bullet to kill off an unarmored target. So why do we even talk about this weapon? Well, no, the small damage boost doesn't magically make the MP5 the most potent weapon in the SMG category. The Vector and the MP7 both outclass the weapon for raw CQC time to kill against an unarmored target. That is still the truth. What that small change does do, however, is it improves the MP5's time to kill consistency across an additional armor class. Against light armors, we actually end up maintaining the 4 bullet to kill requirement, which was not possible prior to the buff, which just gives the MP5 a little bit more consistency against more kinds of targets that you'll see on the field. Unfortunately, when we're going against medium armor classes, the MP7 and the Vector will continue to hold the lead on time to kills in the SMG world, but the MP5 certainly does put up a hell of a fight as a close third place. The one advantage that the MP5 does carry here, especially when compared to against the likes of the MP7 and the Vector, is its accuracy and its ease of use. The MP5 sports a hilariously easy to control recoil pattern that lets you really apply the weapon to ranges that you may not feel comfortable in doing so with other weapons. Yes, the Vector continues to be the gold standard for raw DPS and just obliterating the poor bloke who just so happened to log in on the enemy team on the server that you're playing on, but the MP5 carries this more almost calming and calculated presence to it, right? It's less about screaming its way into battle and just, taking things a little easier and, one step at a time. It's been a nice change of pace to use. this actually continues to be the case when we take the MP5 and start scoring those cheeky, blocky headshots. The MP5 sports a headshot time to kill that matches that of the Vector when you're dealing with unarmored targets, which only adds to the MP5's consistency if you know what you're doing. Solid crosshair placement is going to be very rewarding here, and the MP5 does everything it can to help you in achieving that. It almost feels like a smaller assault rifle while sporting the mobility of an SMG, and that's a pretty fun combination to take advantage of in the game. So yeah, while the MP5 doesn't break any records in the raw time to kill perspective for the most part, it's far from a useless option. A nice and comfortable weapon in which a small buff to its damage profile has actually helped it in getting across the line in being a very reliable pick. So don't sleep on the MP5, it's the biggest recommendation I can make. But okay, while the MP5 got a relatively minor change that purely cements its role as a jack-of-all-trades SMG, the Groza got a far more significant change to its role and purpose in the game. The Groza's damage was increased from 27 to 34 per shot, while having its rate of fire decreased from 700 rounds per minute to 650 rounds per minute. In addition, its magazine capacity was reduced from 50 rounds down to 30 rounds in total, which collectively makes for a completely different weapon as far as behavior is concerned. Firstly, that change in the damage. Holy crap, what a stark change in pace for the Groza. Moving it from only being just above the threshold for a 4-shot kill, the weapon is now a confident 3-shot kill against unarmored targets, giving it fantastic magazine economy despite moving it down to a 30-round basic magazine. Matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, this damage model has actually kind of slingshotted the Groza into being a weapon that ties with the FAL for the fastest time to kill in the whole game for unarmored body shot kills, clocking in at a whopping 184.62 milliseconds. That is leaps and bounds ahead of the majority of the weapons in the game. And even when you start taking into account heavy barrel options on some weapons, you are still trading blows in the top end of town. This has truly transitioned the Groza into a cheeky little weapon of mass destruction that in the hands of a solid shooter that knows how to maximize their magazine economy, well, let's just say that enemies are going to quickly find out that you're using the Groza. Unfortunately, there is a catch here. The Groza's limitation comes from its fast deteriorating performance against targets with heavier body armors. Even against a lightly armored target, the Groza's time to kill almost jumps up by 100 milliseconds, clocking in at 276.92 milliseconds, which is just a byproduct of the weapon's slower rate of fire. If anything, this just really illustrates how punishing armor can be against weapons that go for the high alpha damage, low rate of fire designs in the game. It's a factor that's worth considering here, and if you go ahead and miss a shot with the Groza, that's only going to exacerbate that sense of punishment when engaging an armored target. It's the same thing that applies to all of the high damage weapons in the game, that being the Scar H, even the FAL at times. But thankfully, it's not all doom and gloom here. The Groza, much like the aforementioned MP5, is a pretty controllable weapon, at least in my opinion, and abusing that controllability with some good crosshair placement is going to net you some very good results. For example, the Groza's headshot time to kill sits in at a blistering 92.31 milliseconds, which makes it share a place as the fastest killing weapon with headshots in the game alongside the FAL before attachments come into play. As we said earlier, of course, once you start jamming heavy and long barrels onto certain weapons, that's going to change things a little bit here, but when brand new and out of the box, the Groza is repping one hell of a left-right good night. Much like body armors, unfortunately when helmets get involved, the weapon's bullets to kill via headshots goes up by 1, but it will remain consistent across all types of helmet in the game, ranging from medium to exo. So generally speaking, the headshot lethality of the Groza is not something that should be overlooked, and is incredibly potent in the hands of a skilled shooter with good crosshair placement. If anything, the Groza very much feels like a bit of a glass cannon that takes a bit of patience and skill to get the best out of, which actually explains its place in the unlock tree of the game. If memory serves me, the Groza requires a player rank in the low 90s to unlock. I forget exactly which rank it is, but it's in the low 90s, which is a very fair place for a weapon given its reliance on players' skill to get it over the line. The changes, though, have very much transitioned the Groza from some, low damage pseudo LMG weapon into a high mobility FAL that kicks and screams its way through hordes of enemies, especially when paired with a solid player. Now, I'm not going to sit here and suggest that these two weapons that we've discussed in today's today's video are by any means crushing the meta and are meta-defining weapons. Not exactly. All I'm saying is that they are competitive options, especially since their changes in a recent update, and are definitely worth your attention for a bit of fun in the game. But with that said, guys, that's going to wrap up today's BattleBit Remastered video. If you enjoyed it, a backhanding of the like button will go a super long way to supporting the channel, and if you're new here and enjoying the BattleBit content, then hit that subscribe button as we've got a lot more BattleBit content coming your way in the near future. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on the Groza and the MP5. Keen to hear what you guys have to say in relation to using these two weapons. And once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.